Hello, this is lesson 12-2 on frequency tables, line plots, and histograms. In tonight's lesson, you're going to be able to display data in frequency tables and line plots, and you're also going to be able to display data in histograms. In the last lesson, 12-1, we talked about how we can use the measure's essential tendency to really describe what's happening as a general trend. In tonight's lesson, we're actually going to show how you can show your actual data in a new way. So we're going to get started with a frequency table. When we talk about a frequency table, it's just a table that lists each data item with the number of times it occurs. Because sometimes you're given a lot of data, and you want to try to organize it. That's what graphs do for us, graphs and tables. So below I have this frequency table, all right? And I have just different labels. The number, let's display, tallying it up, and then the frequency. Frequency just means how many tallies are there. So for this one, we can start a frequency table right on it. I have this data, 17, 10, 14, 24, 15, 19, 13, 19, 17, 19. All right, and what I want to do is I want to list the numbers. Now, I like to start with my smallest and then go up from there. So 13, 14, 15. Oops, except I realized I just missed the 10. So I have a 10, a 13, a 14, a 15, a 17, a 19. Let's see, and I believe a 24. That should be on my data. So I've listed the numbers, and now what I'm going to do is make a tally for each one. So 17, there's a mark. 10, a mark. 14, I make a mark. 24, 15, 19, 13, 19, 17, and 19. There we go. So I have my tallies. Now I count how many times each number occurred. Well, 10 occurred once, as did 13 and 14 and 15. 17 occurred twice, 19 occurred 3 times, 24 occurred once. So this is a frequency table, just making the tally and then counting up how many times that number occurred. All right, next is a line plot. So we're going to use the idea of a frequency table and a line plot together for this next problem. Now, a line plot displays data with X marks above a number line, and I'll show you that with this next problem. So it says the survey asked 12 students how many hours of TV they watch daily. The results are shown. Display the data in a frequency table, then make a line plot. So on this one, we're going to want to go ahead and start with our frequency table again. And again, a frequency table, you just list the numbers, how many times they occur, and so on. So, first I have the number, the tally, and then the frequency. And again, you should be doing this as we go along it with your notes. And it looks like the smallest number is a 1, and it goes all the way to a 4. There we go. And I like to make my little lines in there. Helps keep me straight. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and tally it up. Please do the same. There we go. So I finished it. So now I have my tallies. I'm going to count how many there were of each. There were 5 ones, 3 twos, 3 threes, and 1 4. So there's my frequency table. Now I'm going to do my line plot. All right, and it starts with a number line. So you're going to go ahead and make a number line. You can put arrows at the end. And then below the number line, we're going to list the numbers we have here. Now sometimes they skip around, so just keep that in mind. But really here we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, so I can just list 1, 2, 3, and 4. But say I had 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 6, I'd still want you to write 5 and then 6. Don't just skip 5 because it wasn't a number that appeared. All right, and you'll get practice with that. So I know they do that in your lesson. So now we have the general bottom of it set up. Now what we do is use X marks. So for every time a 1 or a 2 or 3 occurred, we're going to make an X. So 1s occurred 5 times. So I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're going to try to make all your X's about the same size. Otherwise, if I make 3 big X's for number 2, well, that makes the data look as if it's skewed, and it's not. All right? So I'm going to go ahead and reset, and let's say I have to do 3 of them. So 1, 2, 3. 3 occurred 3 times, so 1, 2, 3. And then 4 occurred once. All right, and here usually you want to write what this means. All right, so number of hours watching TV. Because again, if I don't have some sort of title telling me what this is about, well, then you just have a graph and nobody will know. Watching TV. There you go. So there's that one. So far we've talked about a histogram, a frequency table, a line plot, and now we're going to get to a histogram. When we talk about a histogram, most people think of a bar graph. And it is similar, except there's a few differences. When we do a histogram, it shows the frequency of data items in graph form. So on this one, really what ends up happening is that they use intervals, quite often. On this one, don't quite have to, but they use intervals of equal length. There we go. Sorry about that. That was bugging me. So they use intervals that are equal length, and the bars are like the same width as well. All right, and they touch each other. So here's this one. 21 judges were asked how many cases they were trying on a Monday. The frequency table below shows their responses. Display this data in the histogram. Then find the range. All right, so this time they gave us our histogram. All right, and they tell us the number of cases and the frequency. So 3 judges had 0 cases. 5 judges had 1 case. 4 judges had 2, and so on. If we really wanted to, we could also do a line plot as well, but they're not asking for one, so I'm not going to make you do extra work. But they want us to do a histogram for it. So what I'm going to do is first I always like to label my y and x axis. All right, and usually x is always given first because it's the independent variable, y is the dependent, so it's dependent on it. All right, let's see. So at the bottom we have the number of cases. And then here, the number of, let's see, judges, I believe, who are actually trying the case. So, let's see. And then I'm going to go ahead and label it so I could have, I'm going to do intervals of it. So I'm going to go ahead, and you don't always have to do it. You could keep it separate, but I could do an interval of 0 to 1, 2 to 3 cases, and 4 to 5. So you'll see, again, they sometimes put intervals together. All right, and then my frequency, let's see, I'm going to start at 0, and then here I could just go up by 1. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. So the number of cases from 0 to 1 is 8. So I guess that will work. All right, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There we go. All right, so we have 8 cases. So I'm going to find 8, make a bar. Usually you can shade it in. All right, and then for 2 to 3, we have 9 cases. So again, my bar should be about equal. All right, and then there we go. Shade that one in. And move that over a little bit, it looks like, because that's a little off. I was not using my space the most wisely. I'm sure you will, though, of course. All right, and then 4 to 5, let's see, it looks like there are 6 cases. So here is 6. Make my bar, shade it in. There we go. So there's my histogram. I use intervals of equal length, each is 2 apart. And then you'll notice that I actually made a title already, so you don't have to do that. It says, how many cases are you trying? But whenever you do a histogram, you should have these labels, you should have a scale, and you should have a title. All right, final piece of this lesson tonight is using some of this information to solve problems. So use the line plot below for the following problems. Number 1, explain why the number line for the line plot starts at 25 instead of 0. So if you take a look at this one here, you will notice, yeah, it starts at 25. It doesn't go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way to 24 before we get to the data. And that's really why We don't start at 0. Start where the information begins, really, and then from there, put all the information, or put all the numbers in. Otherwise, you're just wasting 1, time, and I think you have so much better things to do with it. And 2, it's just a lot of dead space, because there's nothing from 0 to 24. So just, figure out where the number starts, and then go from there. And then it says, too, find the median of the data set. This is very important. All right, median, again, is that middle number when listed from least to greatest. There are 2 ways you can do this. You could list out all the numbers. So I could do 25, 25, 25, and then do my 26s. There are 2 of those, and so on. And then find the middle number this way. And there's nothing wrong with doing it this way. 29, 29, and then 30, 30, 30. All right, and then find that middle number by starting and crossing one out at each end until you find the middle or middle numbers. And there we go. We get a median of 27. That's one way you can do it. Or you can use the x's in the same way. Cross one out each time until you get to that middle number, which the x is in 27, so the median is again 27. Like I said, I don't care which way you do it as long as you make sure you do it. And I just realized, going back to the last problem, I forgot to do the part, so I would have had one wrong. Find the range of the data. All right, well here, the most cases we have are 5, the least amount is 2. So the range here are 3 cases. There we go. So you might have to flip back to that one too and do it if you forgot. And that is your lesson for tonight. Tonight we talked about how to do frequency tables, where you just make a table and count the tallies. A line plot, which is a number line with X's on it. And finally, a frequency table. You have a great night. I will see you tomorrow.